Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that, well, has probably crossed your mind or maybe even landed right in your lap: career
Yeah,
transitions.
a big topic.
Definitely. And you, our listener, shared a really interesting piece from ObserverPoint. It's called Why Changing Industries Can Be a Good Idea and How Job Loss Can Be a Positive Turning Point.
Hmm.
So, our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is really to pull out the key insights. Why would someone choose to pivot, jump into a totally different industry?
Right. And then the other side of it, how can something tough, like losing your job, actually turn into, well, something good, a springboard?
Exactly. It's like two sides of the same coin, isn't it? The proactive choice and the reactive situation.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating because, even though they start differently choosing versus being pushed,
Hmm.
they can end up leading to pretty similar, often positive outcomes. We're going to explore sort of the why behind that for both.
Yeah, going a bit deeper. And honestly, even if you feel totally secure right now, I think this discussion will give you some real food for thought.
I think so too.
Like, we'll touch on how skills you might not even think about could be super valuable somewhere else, and how maybe that shock of job loss forces a kind of self-check you'd never normally do.
That self-assessment piece is huge.
Okay, so let's really dig in. Let's start with the first part. Why someone might voluntarily decide, okay, I'm making a big industry change.
Well, the Observer Point article kicks off with something really fundamental and often, quite personal: fulfillment,
Ah,
passion.
yeah.
It makes the point that, look, the reasons you picked your first career path, maybe way back when, they might not fit who you are now. Your values change.
That totally rings true. Your first job choice is often, well, it's a bit of a guess, isn't it, based on what you knew then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not always deeply connected to what truly drives you.
Yeah.
But the article says choosing to switch gives you a chance to correct that, to align your work more with your core motivations.
And that's not just like a nice feeling. It actually boosts your satisfaction day to day, gives you a sense of purpose.
Right. Finding that meaning, it genuinely improves things. And interestingly, that feeling good about your work can sort of spill over.
Yeah.
It might make you more resilient to stress elsewhere in life.
Huh. That's a good point. An internal buffer.
Precisely. And, research backs this up. People who find their work meaningful tend to report better overall well-being, generally speaking.
Okay, so fulfillment is a big one. What else does the article highlight?
Next up is expanding your skills and knowledge. This is maybe less obvious, but I think really compelling.
Right, because staying put can mean getting, well, maybe a bit stagnant.
Yeah, comfortable, maybe even complacent. But jumping into a new field, it forces you to learn new skills, different market stuff, even just new lingo. You know,
You have to stretch those mental muscles.
totally. And here's the kicker.
Hmm.
The article really emphasizes that these new skills, they're often way more transferable than you'd think.
With the cross-training idea you mentioned.
Exactly like that. The example, they use analytical skills from finance moving into healthcare or tech. That's perfect.
It shows it's the foundational skill that matters.
Right. Recognizing those core competencies, you can adapt. And that doesn't just make you more versatile now. It builds resilience for the future job market, which is always changing.
Future-proofing your brain?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Plus, that challenge of learning new things, it fosters a growth mindset, makes the next change easier.
Okay, makes sense. Now let's talk about something, well, pretty practical. Money. Increasing earning potential. The article doesn't shy away from that.
Nope, it's a valid reason. Some industries just pay better, right? Market demand, profitability, specialized skills needed, it all factors in.
So if you feel like you've hit a ceiling where you are,
Then strategically looking at sectors with higher growth or just higher pay scales, that can lead to a real bump in earnings, a tangible benefit.
and I liked the point about how your old experience can actually be a bonus in the new field.
Oh yeah, that's clever.
The example was someone with an education background moving into corporate training and doing really well financially.
Exactly. You're not starting from absolute zero. You bring this unique mix, that outsider perspective, plus your old skills can command a premium. It's like finding a niche.
A competitive edge from unlikely experience.
Precisely. And that connects sort of nicely to the next point: improving work-life balance.
Ah, yes. The burnout factor. Some industries are just notorious for that, aren't they?
They really are. Crazy hours, always being on. It takes a toll.
So the article says choosing an industry that maybe values balance, more flexible hours, remote work that's not being lazy, it's strategic.
It's a strategic choice for your own well-being.
Yeah.
And interestingly, better balance can actually make you more productive in the long run, not less.
Right. Avoiding burnout means you can sustain your effort.
It's about sustainability, yeah, both for you and your career. And sometimes the problem isn't just the hours, it's the whole environment.
Like toxic workplaces.
Exactly. The article mentions escaping toxic or just plain stagnant environments. Old-fashioned practices, bad management, no room to grow.
We've all heard stories. Or lived them.
Unfortunately, yes. So sometimes just changing jobs in the same industry isn't enough. You need a clean break. Move to a sector that's more positive, more dynamic.
Somewhere you can actually thrive, not just survive.
It's moving towards something better, not just running away from the bad. Which leads us to adapting to the bigger picture, economic shifts, and future-proofing.
This feels really relevant right now. Things change so fast.
They do. Industries rise and fall. So the article suggests being proactive, looking at growth sectors, renewables, AI, biotech, healthcare are examples they give.
Makes sense. Moving towards where the future opportunities seem to be.
It shows adaptability,
Okay.
foresight. It's smart career management, really.
Okay, and the last point for voluntary changes.
Gaining new perspectives and fostering innovation. This is about the value you bring as an outsider.
Ah, the fresh eyes advantage.
Exactly. You're not stuck in the industry's usual way of thinking. You might see solutions others miss because they're too close to it.
That cross-pollination of ideas. Bringing something from industry A to solve a problem in industry B.
Precisely. Applying your old knowledge in new ways can spark real creativity. It's stimulating for you and potentially valuable for the new field.
Okay, so lots of compelling reasons to choose a change. Now, let's shift gears. Let's talk about the other side. Involuntary job loss.
Right, the less planned transition.
Hearing your position is being eliminated, I mean, that's tough. No way around it. The article acknowledges the shock, the anxiety.
Of course, it's a difficult experience, but then it pivots quite quickly to reframing it. How can this negative thing actually spark positive change?
That's the key question.
Well, the first point is that it forces a pause, an opportunity for reflection that you probably wouldn't have taken otherwise.
Like an unscheduled timeout.
Kind of. When you're in the day-to-day grind, you rarely step way back and ask the big questions about your career, your life goals. Job loss forces that.
Create space. Maybe unwanted space initially, but space nonetheless.
Exactly. To ask, was I really happy? What did I actually like? What do I want next? Getting clear on that stops you just jumping at the first thing that comes along.
So it can lead to more intentional choices afterwards.
Ideally, yes.
Mm.
A more values-driven next step.
Mm.
And building on that, the article says job loss can actually be the thing that shakes you out of a rut.
A rut you maybe didn't even realize you're in.
Yeah. It's easy to get comfortable in a job that's just, okay, good enough. You're coasting.
Not terrible, but not great either.
Right. And maybe you wouldn't have had the energy or courage to leave on your own. Job loss provides that external push. It forces you to look for something potentially much better.
Breaks the inertia.
That's a good way to put it. And then there's the experience itself, navigating unemployment, the job search. The article says this builds hidden resilience and adaptability.
I can see that. Facing uncertainty, rejection maybe, financial stress. Getting through that has to make you stronger, right?
Absolutely. It proves to yourself you can handle adversity. That boosts your confidence in a really profound way. You discover strengths you didn't know you had.
A sort of trial by fire that reveals your own grit.
Mm-hmm. And during that transition time, when you're not working, it can be a chance to, well, reinvent yourself professionally.
Yeah, okay. How so?
Without the constraints of the old job, you suddenly have the freedom, perhaps, to pursue things you've put off.
Like going back to school or learning a totally new skill.
Or even starting that business idea you've had kicking around. The article points out it's like having a blank canvas, professionally speaking. You're freer to explore new directions.
Less tied down by existing commitments. Interesting.
And then there's networking. The job search itself forces you to connect with people.
Right, you have to reach out.
And the article emphasizes how this can massively expand your network.
Yeah.
You talk to old colleagues, meet new people, learn about companies and industries you'd never have encountered otherwise.
Those informational interviews can be gold mines.
They really can. Sometimes the best opportunities pop up through those new, maybe unexpected connections. It really highlights why building relationships matters.
Definitely. And the last point on reframing job loss.
It's about negotiation. The article suggests that having that clean break can actually put you in a better position to negotiate terms for your next role.
How does that work? Because you've had time to think.
Partly that, yes. You've had that forced reflection time, so you're clearer on what you want. Salary, yes, but also culture, responsibilities, flexibility. You know your non-negotiables.
So you approach the negotiation more deliberately.
Exactly. You can reset expectations and advocate more strongly for what truly fits you, potentially finding a much better match overall than the job you lost.
Okay, so lots of potential upsides, even from a tough situation. So whether it's a chosen change or one forced upon you, how do you navigate it successfully? The article gives practical tips, right?
Yes, absolutely. Strategies that apply in both scenarios. Foundational stuff. Self-assessment and research. Really understand your core skills, what genuinely interests you, what your deal breakers are.
Know thyself.
Pretty much. And then research the industries you're considering. What's the demand? What qualifications are needed? What's the typical culture like?
Those informational interviews again.
Crucial at this stage. Yeah. Talk to people who are actually in those fields.
Okay, self-awareness plus market knowledge. Got it. Then what?
Identify and bridge your skill gaps. Be honest.
Yeah.
What skills are needed for that new industry that you, well, don't have yet?
And then make a plan to get them.
Exactly. Online courses, certifications, volunteer work, whatever it takes. It shows employers you're serious and proactive, even if you lack direct experience.
Tackles that no experience hurdle head on.
Right. Next up, leverage and build your network. We touched on this, but it's vital.
So reach out to people you already know.
Tell them what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
But also expand it. Go to industry events, join online groups, focus on building real connections, not just asking for jobs.
Relationships, not just transactions.
Precisely. Networking is about community and insight too. Then, tailor your application materials. Hugely important.
No generic resume.
Absolutely not. Customize your resume and cover letter for each application. Highlight the transferable skills. Use the language of the target industry.
And the cover letter is where you explain the why, right? Why you're making the change.
Yes. Tell your story. Connect your past experience to their needs. Make it compelling for them.
Gotcha. Makes sense. What else?
Embrace the learning curve and be patient. This is key.
Meaning, accept you'll be the newbie for a while.
Yeah, and that's okay. Be prepared to learn, ask questions, don't expect to know everything on day one, and the whole transition process might take time. Patience is crucial.
Keep a positive attitude, basically.
And persistence. It won't always be smooth sailing. Having that growth mindset we talked about earlier helps here too.
Okay. And the final piece of advice.
Seek support. Don't go it alone.
From who? Like friends and family.
Them, for sure, for emotional support, but also career coaches, especially those who specialize in transitions. Mentors in your target field. Build a support system.
Get advice, encouragement, just someone to talk to.
Exactly. It can make a huge difference during what's often a pretty significant life change.
Okay, so if we sort of wrap this all up, the big takeaway seems to be that changing industries, whether you choose it or it chooses you, isn't necessarily a step back.
Not at all. It can actually be a path towards more fulfillment, new skills, better opportunities overall.
And even job loss, as tough as it is, can be that unexpected nudge towards self-discovery and finding a career that's actually a better fit.
Right. Both paths, the voluntary and involuntary, they really demand self-awareness, good planning, and resilience.
But the core message from the ObserverPoint piece seems to be embrace the change. Don't just see it as a disruption. See it as a potential door opening.
Absolutely. An open mind can lead you to a much more rewarding professional life in the end.
Which brings us to a final thought for everyone listening. Maybe think about this. Can you recall a time when something seemed negative, but looking back, it actually opened a door to something better?
Yeah. And perhaps ask yourself, is there any rut you might be in right now without fully realizing it? And what tiny step, just one small thing, could you maybe take today just to explore slightly different paths, just in case?